Hello everyone, my name is Adreden, and today we are in Alpha 18. It is bright and early. Let's all figure out how to make and use a forge. So the forge itself is a bit different now. It uses over in here, like we used to be able to buy it, the hammer and forge, and make it. Now though, what you have to do to get it is go over to intelligence, and if you want, you can buy advanced engineering, blacksmith, and the first level of that, it says now you are a blacksmith, able to forge iron and other objects, craft forges and items 20% faster at forges. We are able to do this with this skill. I'm not going to buy it quite yet. One of the other options to do is we can also find the schematic. So up here I've got a schematic for it, and now this is supposed to be able to be found wherever you find uncommon books and in car parts. So I will show you a couple places to find that. But what we're going to need is small stone, clay soil, leather, duct tape, and a short iron pipe. So these are pretty easy to get. You know, smash a few rocks and break some toilets. Let's go get some of these things, shall we? And in the meantime, I'm also going to take a look for different places where I can maybe get this. Coincidentally, if you happen to find a place that is the auto parts store, not my particular version of it, but the other store that looks very similar to this, you will be able to find some in here. And the reason is that if we go inside, we'll find that it has some of these passing gas. So passing gases are the place to go as well to get these things. And so we will head out and start gathering some of these things here. So there is a chance that when you search a car that you'll get car parts or uncommon books. So you can search cars. It is very unlikely to find anything in them. Pretty much any place that has a passing gas like that, this sign here, if you're new to the game, would be a place that you could possibly go to get these books. But what you're looking for are these crates in here. There's some of those ones. There's also some on the roofs of buildings quite often, so definitely take a look around because there might be some up there as well. Yeah, so once again, another car place here happens to have some parts up on the roof, so you can try to find some there. One of the other really good places to start looking is in a crack-a-book. So there's this one here. It has a few floors. You have to go up to find them. So in this floor, which is the 3rd floor and the 4th floor, are your best bets to find books, because there's a giant room in here that has a bunch of books as well. So both of these are pretty decent for that. So hopefully you can find what you need in there. There's also this crack-a-book, which is a lot of books inside. And there's also this type of crack-a-book. And of course, there are other buildings, like the Dishong Towers, that have other places that have books like there and there. So make sure you hit up all the houses, because you never know when you'll find one that has a bookcase in it that will have the forge recipe. If you find yourself in a hospital, you can also search these medical supplies. They will occasionally give you laboratory supplies, which could have books in them. Another option for getting the forge is to go to the trader, because sometimes they'll have them, and so you can just buy them straight up. Sometimes they'll also have some of the schematics that you need as well. So here's the advanced bellows schematic. This one is a mod that you put into the forge, so I would buy that if you had the money and were in the process of building yourself a forge. But there's a chance that they could have the forge in here as well as a schematic. All right, for stone, find one of these or some of these boulders. Some of these ones are pretty easy. They're all over the place as well, and you just smash them, get the stone you need. So I'm just going to gather a bunch of that up. Of course, there's also digging down a couple of blocks down into the ground and getting stone that way. There's also debris like that over there that you can break down and get sand and stone, and that could get you what you need. Pretty easy to get 60 stone. Just broke down this one rock here, and still have more to break down, and I probably could have got it, plus a little bit of that other rock, but you know, it's pretty simple. So to get the leather, duct tape, and short iron pipe, there's a couple different things you can do. What I often do is I just find a POI, something that's sort of large, so you can kind of go in here and look around and see what you can find. Generally something that's been a house or something would be best, as they often have leather couches and things like that. So in this one, I've already cleared it all out. So let's just go and quickly see. You're probably going to want to get things like this because they have cloth. Cloth can be combined with glue to make duct tape. And then we can also break down sinks. So I think this will just give us... Okay, yeah, there we go. So there you go. One there. I've never actually tried to break down either of these two machines on the side of me here because, well, they're new. So let's just get out a wrench and see what they do for us. You see here we have a couple of wrenches or a couple of pipes, so that's more pipes than we need, I believe, because we only need that many for that. Plus the, well, let's see, the crucible does not require them. I believe the bellows requires them. Yes, the bellows requires that many. So actually I got as many as I need, which is perfect. So let's see here, if we wrench down this, we get mechanical parts. Wrench down that one, nothing special. Oh, and a refrigerator still gives us a pipe, so that's perfect. So fridges are also on the menu as it is. Here's a toilet. Break this down and get yourself some pipes. This kind of sink, pipes. Bathtubs do not keep pipes. Beds give pipes. Once you get to this frame level, they give pipes, that is. And I guess we want leather, so I'm going to go up to the next floor. Great. So here we have a leather chair, and that one is breakdownable for that. Disassemblable, whatever you want to say. So you can get a bunch of leather from those guys. There's also these leather sectional sofas. You can break them down for leather and wood. These are also found in the skyscrapers, lots of times in the lower floors, so you can hit those up as well. I don't really think it's necessary to tell you all the different places you can find them, but just keep an eye out for them. I think I oftentimes will just run to a skyscraper if I can see one, because they're so easy to see. Just grab what I need out of there, but the principle is all the same. Okay, and if you can find some of these, you're going to need to get the bones out of them, because you take your bones, combine them with this, and you can get the duct tape. Now, odds are good you can find the duct tape all over the place. It's in so many different kinds of loot, but I don't always like waiting, so I'm not going to, you know, show you that. There's also the option of getting an animal to get the leather or the bones out of. Of course, you know, make sure that you're doing it in a way that you're going to be able to survive. Oh, I've never exploded a head from one of those before, I don't think. And of course, your harvest goes up a lot better if you have something like a knife. You get a lot more out of it, so. All right, well, let's go back and start crafting. So as I'm breaking down this car from the upper level, I get cloth, mechanical parts, iron. So some of the things we need, and there should also be some pipes. There's a pipe right there. There we go. I don't know that they do leather anymore. Could it be changed from Alpha 17? So I probably would just bet on going into houses and such. And finally for clay, you just got to dig in the dirt. The different types of soil will give you different amounts. Like if you're digging in sand, you'll get a little bit of extra sand versus digging in this kind of dirt, which gives you pretty much just pure clay soil. If I were you, you know, if you're just making a forge straight up, you know, you just need to get 60. So that's not too bad. But I would generally spend a little bit of extra time if you got it. See, now I've got 60 for the forge. But of course, if you ever, well, you can make the crucible later, I suppose. But when you get time, dig up a little bit extra to get up to this extra 900. You're also going to need to pick up a bit more just so that you can do some forging itself, because it's kind of like they use it for, you know, making the molds, but it's just kind of unspoken that they're used to make the molds out of the clay. You just use some every time you forge something, pretty much almost anything. What I tend to do is pick up about 100 more or something. I pretty much, I don't know, depending on the time, I might even just use an entire shovel's worth. Okay, well now that we have that, we can start to separate out our materials, such like this, and then of course we need to do some work with this. So assuming you haven't found any, we'll just quickly go over how to make this. It's pretty simple. You will need murky water, so looting the houses, I'm pretty sure you're gonna find some. Looting toilets is a really good way to find some. I don't know if there'll be any in these toilets. Ah, there we go, right there. Murky water. Beautiful. In fact, that's pretty much the number we need too. Let's go over to the fire here, and we're gonna put some sort of fuel in there, and then we are going to make some glue. If we had a cooking pot. Cooking pots are easy to get. You just need to go into a house and grab one. Okay, so cooking pot goes in there. Now when we search glue, we can make glue. Okay, so it takes 7 bones to make 1 glue, so we're not going to be able to do all of it this go, but this is just an example. So bam, there you go, glue. It takes a few moments to make, and I'll just make 1, and we'll just skip ahead a couple seconds. Okay, so we have our glue and our cloth fragments. We take this, recipes, duct tape, and craft that up. So just get the number you need, and then you will have your duct tape. And with that, we can now craft our forge once we have the skill. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take one of these, and we're going to read that. So let me see here. If we go over to intelligence, and here, there's no way to tell whether you actually have the particular skill other than the fact that you can either craft it or not. In here, it shows that it's locked, but there's no other real way to check it. So once we have this, it will update itself, and we will be able to see. See? There. Now we have it. So the other alternative, of course, is to have just bought it via the blacksmith. And we will do that. I guess we'll do it afterward because it allows items to craft faster. So what we'll do is we'll kind of do a comparison. So I'm going to take the stuff that I gathered up, and I'm going to make a forge. Forge, just in your inventory, craft it. Takes a minute and 20 odd seconds. Here's our forge. What I do is you just find a spot where y'all like it, and you go boom, just like that. Okay, so now let's take a look. Over here you can see the different recipes that can be made. These are what are being crafted. Here's what's coming out. Here's what you're smelting, and you have iron, brass, lead, sand, stone, and clay. And then this is the different types of fuel. It's not just wood planks, we'll go into that, and the different tools. And this is where it tells you some more information about whatever you're looking at. So here are the tools and the costs for them. Now, pretty much we've seen how to get everything. The forged iron is made inside the forge. It should be one of the first things you're practicing. There it is. So it's just a few of the iron. And this is a lot more, but does overall make the crafting speed way faster. So yeah, the way things work now is it kind of unlocks certain things, and it also kind of decreases the speed depending on what it is. These are kind of more like mods. Yeah, they change the way things work. So for example, the smelting speed is 50% faster because you're providing more air, so it's just faster. And for the crucible, it works a little bit different. It works in the way that it unlocks the ability to make steel and steel items, I guess, and bulletproof glass. So it's a little bit interesting. So anyhow, let's create some of these things. Okay guys, it's been a number of hours for me. I wanted to be very thorough in this, and so what I did is I did a lot of testing to see what was fuel, what was smeltable, and I got some surprising results. They changed some stuff up since Alpha 17. And so here we go. Okay, for fuels, we can burn anything like this. So it's not too bad. I mean, everything has its own various fuel values. Not really listed anymore here, probably in the XML somewhere. But yeah, let's say, like, let's take the candy cane, some animal fat, and a cigar, and some barbed wire. All right, so the way to test this is if this number here, this 0.5, increases as you put something in. Boom. Better. Now, there's a lot of things that aren't fuel. So if we just go and grab some of these things, then we see that they are not fuel. I was kind of thinking that, now this is probably because this is just from the menu, and so you probably would never get this block, but I was thinking you could burn polymers, you could burn oil, you could probably burn leather, right? But it's not quite the same here. I'm primarily going to use coal because it's long lasting and, you know, it's a good fuel. And so if you turn it on, you can see, you can hear it burning. The way to test this is, now that you have some coal in there, if you turn it on, it's burning, but if you put this in, it quenches it, right? So you can tell that it's not going. Turn it on, quenches. So that's definitely one way to tell that it's not a fuel. So yeah, turn on, and it's 53, it doesn't go up. 50, and then it goes up to like, you know, over 2000 again. So that's how you can tell that something is a fuel or not a fuel. I mean, unsurprisingly, certain things kind of make sense. Like these probably have a lot of water content. These have no water, of course, but in theory they would burn. I don't know, I don't doubt that they went really scientific with it. Okay, anyhow, moving on from fuels, let's move on to things that are smeltable and how to get various ones from there. Okay. So, here is a bunch of smeltable stuff, and I even included a little bonus. We have a couple of these lucky looters. So, for example, if you're trying to get brass, these are the things you're going to possibly use to get brass. And if you happen to find Lucky Looter Volume 3, you'll see that it helps you get brass. So, I included it just because, you know, it helps you do that. Lucky Looter Volume 1 specifically also is related to brass because dukes are made of brass, and it allows you to find more dukes. So that's why I included that one. Okay, so lead here, you can use, you know, things like car batteries, lead fishing weights, and lead trophies. And of course, Lucky Looter 4 lets you find more lead. There you go. Okay, so we're going to save these three for later because they're kind of special. So for iron, for example, you can take nerdy glasses and these iron knuckles, which look like brass knuckles, but they're not. Leg armor, face piercings. Now, oddly enough, you can do a couple of things like flashlights, spotlight, this one, which is the headlight mod. But this is your primary thing. You're supposed to use this raw iron here. There's no raw brass. I guess you would need copper and zinc, is it? Anyhow, what you do is you just take your whatevers. I'm going to just start with raw iron because that's, you know, the thing. And you turn it on. And then it takes 5 seconds to smelt one. And boom, we get one. We turn it off. Generally, if you're new to the game, what you want to do is split this up. And this will do it twice as fast because you have 2 slots doing the same thing. Now, with that, this is kind of where you get some of these other weird things. You can do glasses, which, you know, glass, but no, iron. Headlight, well, you can probably guess what it's going to give you, right? Same with these brass-looking iron knuckles. Oh, there's a bunch of them in there. Okay, so we'll just take one. It takes too long for me to actually show you. But you can do anything that has this little counter on it that will allow you to do those. So, all 3 of these also make iron, if you have not guessed. Also iron, scrap iron here, that is probably one of the biggest sources to get stuff out of. Tin cans are also good. You can do weapons, weapons or tools, some of them. And so that, you know, just takes a long time. And you can also burn some of these tools too, right? If it has, well, some of them you can't. You know, just use the method I used for testing and you'll see. Now, for lead, this is your primary one. And you can do car batteries, lead trophies, fishing weights. You know, they don't take a whole lot of time. We'll just do 5 seconds. And the car batteries, you know, they take more time, but I guess the idea is you take the lead plates out of them and they make a bit of lead. Okay. And this, of course, you get from various ores. Maybe up in the top corner, there might be a mining guide, one I plan on doing. Glass is kind of a weird one. Of course, you just put in, you know, broken glass in like that. But generally, you don't want to put in too many jars. I mean, I guess if you're making windows, sure, you could use your excess jars for making that. So here's some stone, cobblestone. Some of these tools work as well. Do those blocks as well. So you drop in a cobblestone rock. You're going to get some stone any second now. There you go. Of course, stone will give you stone. That's your primary source of stone, and that's good for concrete and things like brick blocks, which also take a bit of time to melt down, but there they go. Flagstone will do as well. And same with your tools that are made out of stone. They will melt down, as well as a burn. So just keep that in mind. You can use them either way, your old tools. So, you know, if you want to min-max it to the max, you can, you know, keep all your old things rather than scrap them. But I personally find that it's hardly worth the time. Clay is probably one of the more important ones. So we'll grab those guys. And of course you can put in clay there, and you can see it takes 5 seconds to go. But you can also put in a potted plant. I guess because it's made out of like a, you know, clay pot, and maybe the soil these days is considered clay soil. So, whoosh, we'll get a bunch of clay out of that one as well. So we're at 5. Who knows what will be in a moment. Just you can take a look. Okay. Now, there's also this funny one here, which is tungsten. Now, this is most likely for War of the Walkers mod, or one of their other mods use this. Now, you can melt down a tungsten trophy. But when you do... Oh, wait a second. I didn't notice that last time. Yeah, okay. Tungsten trophy. That's made out of iron. So, there you go. It's made out of iron. Maybe they updated that since last night. I don't know. Whatever. It's made out of iron. So we put that in the iron pile. Now, there's these two here, which are electrical parts and mechanical parts. You kind of would think that they'd be something you could melt down, but they're not. And following that line, here's a bunch of other stuff that actually doesn't melt down. And I thought this was kind of interesting because some of them you used to be able to do, but not anymore. For example, guns, steel parts, motor parts, say this mod for the flashlight, these parts for the machete, spear. Oh yeah, there's also like this weird thing here that stone does. Line clean blocks used to, right? So you can put in a line clean block and it doesn't melt down. Kind of thought that was weird. A stone arrow doesn't, despite the fact that you can do things like stone hammers and stone axes and shovels, right? But you can't do the arrow. The arrow does work as fuel though. So now you used to be able to melt down guns, but not anymore. I don't think they're fuel. They're not fuel. Spear, machete, nothing. Okay, weird, huh? Same with like sledgehammer parts, etc. Now, despite the fact that you can use the headlight mod and put it in here and melt it down for iron, this one does not melt down at all. I thought that was interesting and weird. Okay. So we're just gonna get rid of those. I thought maybe the night vision might do polymers or something, but it doesn't melt into anything. It doesn't do anything. Now, forest ground, desert ground, and burnt ground, you can all get clay out of, but for some reason, let's say you made some of these or got them somehow, I don't know, you can't melt them down. They don't do anything. So without doing a mod, there's nothing you can do with them. Okay, so then I thought, okay, what about glass? Glass pane does nothing anymore. You used to be able to melt down glass panes. I guess now you probably need to scrap it, but you can't scrap it. It's like there's no recipes for a lot of these things. So I don't really know. I guess you'll probably only be able to do some of these like business glass planes, or maybe the glass block. Yeah, but so you can't well, maybe in your inventory? You can't scrap these down for anything, which I thought was kind of weird. Of course, you have the brass outdoor light. Maybe it gives you brass, maybe it doesn't. No, it doesn't give you brass, doesn't give you sand either. So, same with the brass light here. And I guess it's because the player can't craft them normally. My guess is a modlet that allows you to do it will probably let you melt it down. Chandelier, no. So for whatever reason, you know, you can't. Light bulb, no. Basic light bulb, I'm pretty sure these are the ones the player can create. They don't give you anything. Lantern, players can create those. They don't give you iron nor sand. So, okay, weird. Bulletproof glass, because we were in here, glass, right? Bulletproof glass block, you can make it, but you can't melt it down. Same with business glass, doesn't melt down. Maybe we can use these ones. Ah, this is how they've done it. Okay, so if you have these type, which are the type that you can actually get, that is how you melt them down. So these old style blocks don't work anymore. It'll just be these ones here. Is there one for the lights? There is not a helper for the lights. Okay, that's fine. Okay, so there you go. We learned something even more. So as you can see, this thing is basically just running. And right now it isn't doing very much. Now, one of the things you can expect is that, yeah, there it is right there. You can see that right now, this section of land, which is called a chunk, which is a 16 by 16 area of blocks, has what is called heat, which is more like a measure of player activity or game activity. It's kind of a strange concept to call it heat. It isn't actually connected to the physical property of being warm at all. For example, you could, if you collapsed, say that building, that would generate a whole ton of heat, and you'd probably get a screamer. So that is one of the things about this, is that it generates heat. We can show also too that, like, if we were to go off to a different chunk, they won't have nearly as much. Ah, see, here we go. This chunk way over here doesn't have nearly as much heat because, yeah, I guess there's 42 events. I'm not really sure what that means. I guess that means the total number that have happened. In previous alphas, heat has dissipated over time. I have not read any sort of changes to the heat map, so I guess maybe it's because I'm here. Yeah, see, it goes up and down depending on what happens all the time. So because I'm here, there's a little bit of heat probably being generated. Plus, underneath the ground, where are they? Here they are my plants from my underground farming video, and up there is my other plants from my video on farming. So those are around, and they're probably generating heat. Over time, the heat gets to 100%, and then we'll call it a screamer, and then it'll reset to 0. But you have to deal with the screamer. So, and if you don't deal with her, then you get the screamer horde. So there is that. Now then, how to do iron and other things. Let's throw a bunch of good stuff in here. We'll take this clay and some iron. I'll also grab a couple of these guys in here. This is your base brass. Like if you were to scrap any of these things, you'd get brass. So the main thing I want to do right now is this one and this one, because most people are going to be mostly interested in like forged iron and steel. Insulators and stuff are fun because, you know, it takes a little bit of a lot of different things. You would need, yeah, the iron for the center piece, and sand for these insulators, and clay for the molds. So that's kind of how that works. Oh yes, another very important part is if you wanted to, say, extract all the lead because you were thinking about moving your forge, then you would be doing something like this. You'd select it, you'd go over, you'd get all of that, which is the same number as this number, you hit craft. Now that will start being produced and is in the output, and so that is how you can extract them to get them out of here. Now then, I wanted to also do one thing here, because we take a forge, we take a land claim, so we put a forge here. If you press E, you just automatically go into it. But if you want to move said forge, you have to have a land claim nearby that claims a chunk of area around it. I'll have to do a video on land claim blocks. But if you hold E, you can now pick it up. It takes a bit of time, but, you know, eventually it will be picked up. There you go, and it's back in your inventory. Now what happens if you break this thing? I'm going to use a steel pick to speed this up because it takes a couple seconds. Let's see what we get from it. This is not the method you really want to use to do this. And just stone. So you don't get back anything like the leather or the clay, you just get stone. It's not really worth it. So use your land claim block and press E, hold E, and you can pick it up. Otherwise, open it. But you can just press E real quick and it automatically opens it for you. So, as you can see, lots of this lead is coming out. The thing is, you want to extract everything out before you move it. Actually, let's test it. Let's make sure they haven't changed it in Alpha 18. Just going to run this one in the background here for a few minutes here. Okay, so now you see it has 10 iron. Pick it up. And we have it. It looks like it returns our fuel still. But if we put it back down, we have lost all the iron. So let's say you smelted down, you know, hundreds upon hundreds of iron. That would all be gone. So make sure that you use the method I showed you earlier, where you select said resource like iron, you hit max, and you get it all out. You can do that with the stone, you can do it with clay, sand, etc. So that's how you want to do that. Okay, so let's make forged iron instead. I'm going to just drop these. Okay, there's your forged iron. It doesn't take anything special to learn. You can just do it as soon as you have your forge. So you can make one, bunch, whatever. That's awesome. Now one of the other things you're going to want is an anvil. Of course it's locked because you need the anvil schematic. In theory, this should be unlockable somewhere if you wanted to buy it. Yeah, it doesn't really look like you can unlock it. If I find any other changes or way to do that, I will add it to either the description or the comment down below, but I looked through the progression as of 18.1 and it doesn't seem to be there. So, you find the schematic, you use it, and there you go. Now you should be able to make the anvil if you have this much stuff in the forge. And it looks like we do. So, anvil. Or we don't. No, not yet. So, the process is just like making the bars, though. If you have the right material, which is this amount over on the right side, then you can make it. And of course, this here shows you how much is actually in your workstation. So we have way more than enough clay, but not nearly enough iron. So, assuming we had enough, we would just be able to make the anvil. Now, the anvil makes things craft faster. Okay, well, let's go over to the bellows. Here's the bellows. Once again, when I looked, I didn't see any way to get it other than to craft it. And this is what you need to craft it. 6 wood, 20 leather, 2 short iron pipes, 5 duct tape, and some nails. So we would just use one of those and then craft it right in our inventory. Craft. Yeah, because this one, unlike the anvil, is crafted by us to provide more air to this thing. Let me see here. If we look at these advanced bellows, we get a forge smelting speed of 50%. So I'm guessing this will decrease, I hope. It looks to be shorter, though, because it used to be, I think, 5. Yeah, it says 50%, but there must be some kind of, like, lower limit on that. Let's grab something like a iron shovel. If we look at that, 147, but if we were to take this out, maybe put that back in. Yeah, so 240 for it. I guess you have to take it out and put a new one in. They don't seem to have some sort of auto-updating thing, so it takes half the time, approximately. I mean, I don't know. I'm not doing the math right now, but it looks like it's pretty good for that. There you go. That is how that one works. All right, so now the crucible. So I'm going to take all of the parts I need, which is 100 forged iron, 20 mechanical parts, which you can get from cars or chopping carts, let's say file cabinets, that kind of stuff. And let's read this, use that. Now we should be able to make it. And we go crucible. Oh no, we need a workstation. Okay, not a big deal. And what was the other thing? Stones, yeah, well, there's our list of things. So I'm gonna make a workstation. Just one sec, guys. For now, we're just gonna put the workstation right here. Click in there, type in crucible. And because we have both the schematic and the parts, we can just craft it. Now it's gonna take a long time to make, so I'm just gonna grab the one we have already got. Okay, so now if you look up something like steel, you can see forged steel requires a crucible, but if you put the crucible in, this one actually updates like that, so that's good. You can make steel arrowheads. Once again, crucible required, take it away, can't make it. So that is how we make steel with the forge using schematics. I believe as you get better in the advanced engineering, which is what you'd also need for the workbench, you can craft steel. There it is right there. Level 3, crafting forged steel. My guess is that that would buy you the crucible? Let's forget. If you don't know what this is Grandpa's Forgetting Elixir. You can get this as a trader, or you can bring it in just like I did for a player if you wanted. And now that will allow us to reset a bunch of our stuff. So I'm thinking that this will make us forget. Nope, doesn't make us forget that. Interesting. So it makes us respec into these things. So I'm guessing that this is now gone. Yeah, so that's now gone. What about the more advanced version? The dev respec, full respec. I'm hoping that this is even better. Nope, apparently not. So I can't really show you if it does or not, but my guess is that if you were to buy the levels required of this, which is going to be that one, plus intellect level 6. So I'm going to have to get a couple levels, actually. Okay, so let's buy level 6. That's going to cost you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 points to get to that, plus 3 to get up to electrician. So 7, 8, 9. Now, I think that should be able to get you steel without being able to, you know, find the crucible, because that's generally how that works now. Actually, let's just test. Yeah, so as you can see in Craftsman's perks, perk Advanced Engineering, down here we go. Passive effect, recipe unlock, and it unlocks the crucible. So that is how you do it if you don't want to find the schematic. Okay, so here we go. We've got our stuff there. You know, there isn't really a whole lot more to say. You just have to look for the things that you want to make, and pretty much that's that. If you're doing too much forging, like let's say I had 2 or 3 forges going because, you know, it's faster, the heat will get too high, and that will be that. So once it gets up to 100, you would get a screamer, which could summon a horde if it sees you before you get to shoot it. We'll go into that in another video. Alrighty. Thank you guys for watching this tutorial. If you liked it, hit that like button and share with some friends. If you are new to the channel and want to learn more about 7 Days to Die, hit the subscribe button. and I will see you in another video. Bye bye.